recorded so that folks that are unable to join do have the ability to join, to see this, so that if there's any partners that you want to share this with or anything like that, you can definitely send the recording. It'll be up on our website for people to be able to go back to, and for you to be able to send to people. My name's Morgan, and I work at the Power Coalition, and I appreciate all of you all joining us today. Today, we're going to discuss our redistricting mini grants. Redistricting is coming, is here, excuse me, and the road shows are starting, and we really want to get people engaged throughout the state about redistricting. And so I have a brief presentation that I'll go through, and I'll also go through the application today and then answer any questions that anyone has about the mini grants. And so let's get started. I'm going to pull up my slides and share my screen. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so like I said, this is Power Redistricting Mini Grants. And many of you all are familiar with the Power Coalition or familiar with our mini grant process. But just in case this is the first time you've heard of both, I'm just going to go through some things so we're all on the same page. So the Power Coalition is the organization of organizations, and we believe in the power of community and the power of the collective to take action. And our charge is to equip our fellow folks with the knowledge and information they need, where to find it, and when to use it. And we use this mini grant process to expand resources throughout the state. We know that oftentimes resources don't get to every part of the state. And so we want to make sure that we're funneling and we're a conduit of resources so that folks can do what they need to really harness their power. And redistricting is the process by which the government redraws the political lines. It applies to every level of government where district elections are held. And here's the redistricting timeline. And so we really started last year when we stopped collecting, when the census data collection ended. And so you all might have been familiar with our census campaign. We did a lot of work with many of you who are going to apply for these redistricting mini grants, and really making sure that there was a fair and accurate count. And COVID made a lot of challenges, but we stepped up and we did a really great job with our census campaign. And we also did mini grants with our census campaign as well. And so that's why we're doing that same strategy, because it definitely worked. It definitely helped with the power echo chamber. And so after census in 2020, though that information was sent to the White House, they did whatever they did with it. And the census data was sent to the state almost a year later after we stopped collecting it. And so right now in the redistricting timeline, we are in the legislative redistricting roadshow. And it was just announced, and I have the dates in another slide. It was just announced, and we want to make sure that we are funneling a lot of folks to that roadshow so that your voices are heard. After the roadshow, which is from October to January, we will have a special session for redistricting at the Capitol. And that's another time that we're going to be asking people for their rallying call. And after the vote, the governor does approve or vetoes the maps. And so this is the redistricting timeline. So we're right here around that October 2021, where we're at the road shows that will happen in different areas, and they're all happening in person. And what's a roadshow? So the roadshow is where community can come and talk to their elected officials and talk to them about what we want to see in equity and justice in the redistricting process. The legislators are hosting these roadshows across the state. This is an opportunity for you to go and learn about the maps that they're proposing and even present your own maps, share testimony, talk about what your community looks like, what the culture, what the boundaries are, and making sure that your legislators know what kind of maps need to be drawn in this redistricting process. And on our website, you can roll over and see where the redistricting road shows are in your area. So you just roll over your section of Louisiana and you can see the date and the time. But I also have that on the next slide. And so we're starting out right next week in the north in October 20th. And they kind of did this, they say, because Southeast Louisiana has experienced Hurricane Ida and they wanted to make sure that they got a critical mass of people. And so we start next week in Northeast Louisiana in Monroe, and then we go to Shreveport. After that, we are in the Lafayette area. And you can see all the way down that we go until January, and January is Baton Rouge. Okay, so now we're getting into the mini grant. And so who's eligible? Organizations that focus on Black and Brown communities and that prioritize equity and justice will be considered and definitely prioritized. Previous organizations that have partnered with the Power Coalition are encouraged to apply. And applications will be reviewed on a rolling basis. You saw the timeline that I had at the a couple of slides back, and we know that the redistricting process is a process, and we're in this for the long haul. We started all the way in 2020, and we're taking this all the way until 2022. And we want to make sure that we're engaging our partners fully in the process. And so we'll be reviewing applications on a rolling basis. What can the grants be used for? The grants can be used for a whole host of things. They can be used to host community listening sessions. So if you want to galvanize your community and talk about redistricting, and listen to what the issues are and what the challenges and questions are. You can host town halls around redistricting. You can text and phone bank around redistricting, writing op-eds and letters to the editor, and mobilizing community for fair and just redistricting process. And you do not need a previous experience with redistricting to apply. The grant amounts will vary on the proposal and the activities outlined in your grant proposal. Grants will be awarded ASAP, so get your applications in as soon as possible. And this is just where you can find out more. Always follow us on social media. Here are all the prompts. And also to learn more about redistricting, you can go to powercoalition.org /redistricting. Now I'm going to stop sharing, but what I am going to do is go on our website and go through the application process so you all know what we're talking about and give a little bit more nuances to the questions that we ask. And so I'll do that in 1 second. Let me go right to the website. And I'm going to share my screen. And so this is the Power Coalition's website. You have these 3 prompts on the front: get out the vote. We are in a voting season, hurricane response, and redistricting. You can click on this tab, or you can keep scrolling, and about 3 tabs in is Redistricting 2021. You click on that tab and it's really everything you need to know about redistricting. For the purposes of this call, I'm going to go right to the redistricting mini grant application. So here's the application. It's right here, and you'll see I really took a lot of the things that was in that PowerPoint off of this webpage. And so if you want to find out more, you go to this. If you have questions, you go to our info page. And then right under it is the grant application. We're estimating that it takes 30 minutes to fill out. We know you are really busy doing work, having a life, and so we didn't want a long, cumbersome grant application. We need the grant contact person's first and last name. That's the person that the Power Coalition is going to be responding to, asking questions of, filling out the information for. And so we want to make sure we have complete and accurate information for that person. Phone number, email. If there's an organization that's applying, for instance, Morgan Shannon Inc. of America, you would put that name there. The zip code and the parish. That's really important because as we try to distill where we're giving out many grants and where we're having impact, we want to make sure that we have the parishes that are represented. And then what type of organization? And as I previously mentioned, any type of organization can apply. A 501c3, churches, social organizations, neighborhood associations, other nonprofits, you all are able to apply. We want to make sure that you center equity and justice and that you prioritize Black and Brown communities. If there's an organization and you're not sure if you fall under this, please press other, and then we'll ask you for a little bit more information. We also ask you for your organization's website and social media information because we want to make sure as you're having events, we would like to ensure that you are saying like sponsored by or in partnership with Power Coalition, but we also want to see the organizations and kind of what you do in community. In this box, you give a little bit of an organizational overview. You give us a little bit of the communities you serve, the nuances of your community. And so I serve the Uptown community in New Orleans. The types of activities that we do are job readiness programs and block cleanups. We also participate in election season from time to time. A really great overview of your organization, the amount of staff or volunteers you do, any types of civic engagements, events, your reach. And so I'm able to reach 112 neighbors with my e-blast or the text messages that I sent out or mailers that I do. We really want to get to know you in this section. So this is probably the section that'll take you a little bit of the longest. And to provide as much information as you're able. What is your organization's interest in redistricting? Why are you interested in redistricting? And you can say something, this does not have to be robust, but it can be whatever it is. We know that the Power Coalition is always engaging in people power. And so when you said that the redistricting was the new frontier, we wanted to be involved. We know you could put whatever your interest is here. We also want to know how many people you're able to commit during the grant period. I'm sorry, what projects are you able to commit to during the grant period? And so you choose whatever description fits you best. Right now, our focus on redistricting is one, awareness, making sure that people know that redistricting is happening, so that education, political education, outreach, but also it's mobilization, really moving a mass amount of people to the places where we need to make our voices heard. Many of you are familiar with the Power Coalition model, a power voter model, and it's really holding your elected officials accountable. And the ways that you're able to do that is to engage with them, especially when there is something that we need to engage with them in. And so how many people can you bring to the Roadshow? That's one of the things that we really want to focus on in this phase of the redistricting process, is mobilizing a mass amount of people to the Roadshow, but then also for them to understand what redistricting is. Also, during the Roadshow, folks are going to be asking a community to really testify about their communities and the kind of maps that they want. And we'll be asking folks to testify. Now, we are providing technical assistance and capacity building with folks to make sure that they're able to testify. And we do ask that folks identify people who maybe have done this before or are familiar with speaking to legislators or speaking in large crowds in general. But we are working with partners, including ourselves, to make sure that people are ready for testimony. Are you able to write op-eds that can get published in your local newspapers or other platforms that you know your community reads? Posting at least a couple of times a week on your social media, and we will have a redistricting toolkit that grantees are able to use with sample tweets, with sample posts, sample testimony in there that's going to be really robust, that you'll be able to use as your guideposts to during this process as you are our grantee. Host text banks about redistricting and phone banks. And so any of you all who have worked with us in the past, maybe you're a census grantee, you know that's a great way to mobilize and catalyze a nice amount of people. And you can do that from the comfort of your home. We know that COVID-19 is very real. And unfortunately, the redistricting roadshows are in person with no way to see them virtually as of yet. And so folks that are comfortable and vaccinated with and going out to be able to attend in person, and we encourage that. But if not, there's other things that you can do in your home. And we want to make sure that everybody has access to making sure their voice is heard. Hosting community meetings and hosting listening sessions. And I already explained what you can do with that. And we want to make sure that you can commit to this redistricting process. As we said, this is a process, and the legislator goes in for session in February. We'll be asking you and calling on you again and activating you in ways for that in person and virtually. We want to know if you're a previous grantee of ours. We definitely want to make sure that we are resourcing our continued and trusted partners. And we appreciate you for being a constant partner of the Power Coalition. So we want to know if you have received grant funds for this. And also let us know what it was for. Now, the Power Coalition had and will have these things called crowd academies. And there we reached hundreds of people across the state. They were all virtual. We partner with our friends at Southern Coalition for Justice. And we had crowd academies. They were 2.5-day trainings about redistricting and the redistricting process, what it was. Folks got to be able to cut maps. And so we want to know if you have attended those, because we also, again, constant partners, people that we're always engaging with. We want to make sure that we're resourcing you for this redistricting process as well. We want to know about your volunteer base. And are there resources that you will need to provide to ensure that you're able to complete this project? You know, maybe I need to know a little bit more about the redistricting. I need to take a redistricting 101. Maybe I will need training on phone banking and texting. We want to know some of the resources that you will need, more technical assistance wise, less money, to be able to complete this process. Would you like assistance training to prep for your redistricting roadshow in your area? And so the roadshow, you see, I put the dates up, and go to our website to kind of see where the redistricting roadshows are happening in your area. And they'll also be in our toolkit. And as we follow up with you all, we'll let you know as well. But would you need assistance with training to prepare for that? If so, we're able to do that. And we want to make sure that you and your community and the communities that you serve are able to do that. And so we'll have some reporting requirements for this. We'll have an interim report and a final report. And we'll have a picture. We would love all of the pictures of your events. We'll ask you to drop that into some type of shared Dropbox or folder, and a list of your expenditures. And if this is something that you can commit to, we would like you to mark yes right there. And can you commit to watching the webinar and the training? And so those of you all who are already on the phone, you've already made that commitment. Maybe you've already filled this out. We want to make sure that the people who are going to be able to see this video will commit to that too. And so that's it. Hopefully it takes you about 30 minutes to complete and it's not too cumbersome for you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for any questions, comments, something you might want me to go back over, and look at the chat. So please just come off of mute, and if you have a question, or you can raise your hand, Frankie. Frankie, did you have a question, or was that a? Okay, let's look in the chat. Can decentralized organizations apply? Jordan, are you able to come off of mute and give me a little bit more context? Oh, they can't come off mute. Oh, okay. All right. So can decentralized organizations apply? So I'm assuming that means like your organization is based in several places. And if so, then yes, you can apply. You know, you can give me a little bit more context in the grant application about what the decentralized organization is, but if it means like, you know, we're based in Shreveport, we're based in Alexandria, we're based in several other places, yes, please apply. Okay, so if you have a question, you have to put it in the chat function. So hopefully, and we have it in the Q&A too. So if you have a question, put it in the Q&A or put it in the chat function to ask. Can you tell me if my grant was submitted? As, Frankie, put your email in the chat and we will get right back to you to let you know if we received your grant application. So if you have other questions, please put them in the chat. Or also you can email at info@powercoalition.org to ask questions as well. Okay, are we able to update our application? Yes, you can update your application, I think. Georgia Taylor, do you think they could update their application?
I would say if there's pieces you would like to add to it or change, the best way would be to email us with those changes. You don't need to submit a whole other application, but just email us, let us know that you submitted one using the info email, which I'll put in the chat, and we'll make sure that goes along with what you've submitted already.
Yes, and Demetrius, or Mr. Norman, thank you so much for getting it in quickly. Yeah, so just email us some things that you want to add, you know, and also you all, like we know that we are working together and trying to really galvanize the mass amount of people to really put the power behind our voice and say, you will pass fair and equitable maps. You will not deflate my power. And so, you know, as we learn more things, we might want to say different things, but just kind of let us know the work that you do, who you are, and what you want to do. Okay, the chat is lighting up. This makes me happy because it feels like I was talking to myself. We work with low and moderate income communities that are majority Black, but you didn't use the words Black and brown enough. It's okay. Low income to moderate communities oftentimes means Black. So we would have understood that anyway. If that's what you want to add, Demetrius, your application is good. We'll read it and get right back to you. So when applying, there doesn't need to be a financial amount for needs. Just what those needs are, and then the amount will be determined by the Power Coalition. Yeah, We will be determining the amounts. We won't go probably past 5,000. These are mini grants. And if there is something that is like a vast, big need, please reach out to us through that info email so that we can understand the need, and then we can really work with everybody on staff and funders to be able to make sure that we're able to adequately resource this need. So they will be mini grants, but there doesn't need to be like I guess you're talking about like a budget and things like that. We might go when we do our grant agreement, ask you what you're thinking your plan is around there to help you fill out some things and finalize that plan. But that's after you would be awarded. I didn't want to, if you weren't going to be awarded, we don't want you to necessarily, build out the whole program. I hope that answers your question, Kate. If not, just go in the chat and maybe follow up. Okay, I got that, Mr. Norman. I understand. And so just email some of that stuff to the info email. Look, a couple of sentences will do, and we will make sure that we consider that as we are reviewing applications. Are there other questions? And Kate, that was a really great question. Yeah, so we will ask you to formalize, and I don't think I really articulated that clearly. We will ask you to formalize more of a plan after you're awarded. So what is it that you're proposing to do? And then how much would that cost? And that also would be very brief. Okay, Power Coalition staff, is there anything that you would say to make anything more clearer, or any encouragement or any more information about redistricting?
I'll just add, I think you've done a great job, Morgan. There will be a number of resources available, like you said, that Power Coalition will be putting out. So this would really be an opportunity to engage your community and push out the information. We've are in developments with graphics and a toolkit, all of that. So this would be more about reaching out and engaging people and bringing them into the process as we're going forward with the redistricting process.
Yeah, thank you for that, Georgia. Definitely. We want you, if the things that you do well. This is just the added point of power. And we're going to make sure that we're providing technical assistance and capacity building in the ways that we have it, and giving you access to resources. And we want you to be super creative with this too. Like, get on social media and blast it that way. If you know youth groups that are interested, that might want to apply, please pass this information on to them. Our focus really right now is awareness, education, political education around redistricting, and mobilizing people to the road shows to the extent that they can go. But the awareness can come in a myriad of ways, even ways that we haven't even thought about. Any other questions or Power Coalition?
I just wanted to add, Morgan, this is Janae, that, super excited for everyone who's interested. And again, like, we're really looking for community voices. I really want to stress the participation around testimony and making sure that those who are engaged and who are community leaders and want to be a part of this process, to not shy away from being from not being a part of the actual testimony. So when we think about advocacy, when we think about the process, that also involves utilizing your voice when we are participating in these community meetings in front of legislators, and even like leveraging your personal relationships you may have with certain elected leaders, and using that power of influence. So I think everything was said by both you, Morgan, and Georgia, but just wanting to make that clear that the testimony piece, I think, is very critical. And I want to make sure that folks, use their innovativeness and creativity when it does come to educating and when it does come to narrative, right? Because what messages are going to resonate more with your community. What topics within this process will stand out more. So using your creativity within this process is also welcomed.
Yes, and the testimony, so social action committees and clubs, political science committees that folks are a part of, debate teams, those kinds of things. Maybe that's something that folks do at church. Really want folks to focus on this testimony aspect of this as well. And again, we'll provide technical assistance. We're going to have Friday coffee chats around a lot of different topics that we can move people to. There's going to be a host of resources on our website, as well as given out in person and sent to you. And then, as Janae said, please just use your creativity, your communication skills. You might have a radio spot or a podcast. We might want to put in the programs at church, the bulletins at church every Sunday. You use it, leaflets and papers, that you can give out door to door. Yes, use your creativity. And a lot of these things will already be created for you. One last question. I attended the parish council meeting this past Monday night, reminded the council about counting inmates as citizens. Yes, Frankie, and counting those who are incarcerated as citizens is it's part of a gerrymandering process. And that is one of the things that we'll be able to provide technical assistance around all of these redistricting terms, redistricting terms that go around cracking and gerrymandering and packing and things that are not even coming up to my mind, but they should be. We really do want folks to be, our people who are incarcerated to be counted, especially where they last reside. So not necessarily in where they are being incarcerated, and that inflates numbers and they don't have any rights. And so that wouldn't make sense, but where they last reside. And so we have a lot of partners who can really talk about the breadth and depth of that. Thank you, Frankie. If you have some time, tell me what parish that was in the chat as well. But we will have the tools, you all. So please be an echo chamber for us. Spread this wide. It will be on our website by the end of the day or tomorrow or so that you all can share it and you all can pass it along. The application is on our website. Shouldn't take that long. And we'll be reviewing them ASAP and really trying to, again, be an echo chamber for redistricting, make empowered districts across the state. Let me make sure I just don't have any. Oh, Washington Parish. Yep. And we were just talking about Washington Parish too. The link to the application is in the chat, working with the local NAACP chapter and bringing them in on the effort in Caddo. That's good. Well, you know, we're a coalition, Mr. Norman. And so when y'all work together like that, that's how we get the information out. That's the only way we'll be able to be a fist, or a fist, that's probably better. Or like this, a fist. Information is in the chat about redistricting, and also the application is in the chat. Can groups, oh, I'm sorry, I missed this question, Mr. Bishop. Can groups partner with each other and submit? Of course, you can partner with each other and submit. You can submit as several groups. You can you can submit individually as well. Just whatever makes sense for the work that you're trying to do. I think partnering together makes the group louder. All right, well, I appreciate you all. I'm not going to keep you longer than I need to. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always showing up and wanting to do the work. And if you have any questions, please email info@powercoalition.org. I thank you for our time and happy redistricting. Bye-bye.